How do you think Clark is handling this?
I think she's handling great. I think she talks a lot of and she gets a lot of back. So she deserves everything she gets because she gives it as good as she gets. She's just not built for the physicality of this league. Like, she's third or fourth in betting odds on being MVP at the WNBA. These people are so disrespectful and so unknowledgeable and so stupid. If you're a basketball player but just a recreational golfer like Caitlin is, the delusional fan base that follows her disrespects the LPGA golfers by thinking she can go into this tournament and do anything. There are actually fans that think she can make birdies or even pars. These people are so disrespectful and so unknowledgeable.
What's really behind Hall of Fame coach Geno Auriemma's relentless digs at Caitlin Clark? Why would one of the greatest minds in women's basketball take shots at the sport's newest star over something as harmless as playing golf? To uncover the real story, we have to look deeper, beyond the surface jabs and sarcastic interviews. This isn't just about golf. It's about legacy, control, and a shifting power dynamic in women's basketball. On one side, you have Geno Auriemma, the architect of UConn's dynasty, a coach who revolutionized the game from the sidelines and built a powerhouse that dominated for decades. On the other, Caitlin Clark, a generational talent who's capturing hearts, headlines, and history books. Not by following the old system, but by rewriting it. Geno helped define what excellence in women's hoops looked like. Now Clark is redefining it on her own terms. And that may be exactly where the tension lies, because when the spotlight shifts, not everyone is ready to share it. What we're seeing isn't just a war of words, it's a culture clash, a collision between tradition and transformation. So stay with us, because the deeper we dig, the more it becomes clear. This feud might say more about the future of women's basketball than either figure ever intended. And the question remains, is this just a generational misunderstanding? Or something much more personal? On the other side of this conflict stands Caitlin Clark. Unlike Coach Auriemma, Clark didn't build her legacy over decades. She's rewriting history in real time. From logo threes to record-shattering stat lines, she's captivated fans and brought unprecedented attention to women's basketball. Her impact isn't just measured in points, but in packed arenas, surging TV ratings, and cultural relevance. Clark is the first college player, male or female, in the modern era to command a global spotlight before ever stepping foot in a pro uniform. And that, perhaps, is where the tension with Geno begins. Because for years, Coach Auriemma was the gatekeeper of greatness. If a player wanted to shine, they came through UConn. They played his way. They won on his terms. But Clark? She did it her own way, from Iowa, without a UConn jersey, without Geno's system. And in doing so, she didn't just win games, she disrupted the hierarchy. So when Auriemma takes subtle, and not so subtle, jabs at her, questioning her focus, her schedule, even her off-day hobbies, it raises a bigger question. Is this just classic Geno, or is it discomfort with losing control of the narrative? Because when the next face of the sport doesn't come from your program, when the spotlight shifts away from your dynasty, it's not just a changing of the guard, it's a shift in power. And that's exactly what Caitlin Clark represents. She's not just breaking records, she's breaking molds, and that might be the one thing even Geno Auriemma can't coach against. Stay tuned, because this story isn't over. In fact, it might just be heating up. Still, Auriemma seems determined to place Clark on a tier below. The greats of the past, many of whom he personally coached, despite her historic resume, he minimizes her accomplishments. He questions her fans, he casts doubt on her dominance, and all while ignoring the elephant in the room. Caitlin Clark is doing something no one else has. She didn't enter the game through the approved path. She didn't play for UConn. She didn't need Geno's system to thrive. Instead, she built her own spotlight and took the whole league with her. That's what the Caitlin Clark effect really is. It's not just numbers and ratings, it's a cultural awakening. She's the reason millions are watching. She's why WNBA arenas are sold out, why jerseys are flying off shelves, why everyone suddenly has an opinion on women's basketball, and while many celebrate that growth, some feel threatened by it. When Geno Auriemma calls her fans delusional, what he's really doing is deflecting, because the truth is, Caitlin Clark's impact dwarfs anything the league has seen in decades, even during the reign of UConn's dynasty. This isn't disrespect, it's evolution. And the irony? For someone who spent his career elevating women's basketball, Auriemma seems strangely uncomfortable with the player who's taking it to the next level. The bigger question is, why? Is it about loyalty to his players? A belief that greatness should only come through his system? Or is it something deeper? A discomfort with no longer being the gatekeeper of the game's future? Because when legends critique rising stars, it's often less about the player and more about the power shift they represent. Caitlin Clark isn't just making history, she's changing who gets to write it.
If you're a college player and you're a great college player like Caitlin was, the delusional fan base that follows her disrespected the WNBA players by saying she's going to go in that league and tear it apart. There were actually odds on she's third or fourth in betting odds on being MVP at the WNBA. These people are so disrespectful and so unknowledgeable and so stupid that it gives women's basketball a bad name. Okay, so the kid was set up for failure right from the beginning. So if you're a WNBA player, and believe me, I've coached the best and I've pissed them off a lot and they let me know about it, but they were tremendously disrespected and none of them are going to say it.
Geno Auriemma's bias shows when he consistently praises players he coached, like Diana Taurasi, but downplays Caitlin Clark. Unlike UConn legends, Caitlin rose to stardom without Geno's system. That threatens the legacy he helped build. So, when he backs Taurasi's rude awakening comment, it feels less like honest critique and more like gatekeeping. Clark didn't follow the old path. She broke records, drew massive crowds, and brought global attention to the women's game, all without UConn ties. And that shift? It's not just uncomfortable for the old guard. It's personal.
This kid's coming into the league, and Diana said it best. This kid's in for a rude awakening. And they all jumped over her, but they didn't read the whole thing that she said. But nobody's printing. Diana Taurasi was right. This kid's on the wrong team. She's got the wrong skill set to handle the physicality of that league, and she's a rookie.
Caitlin Clark has already proven she belongs in the WNBA. Despite the physical play and intense pressure, she's thriving, not just keeping up, but leading. That's why Coach Auriemma's continued jabs feel outdated. Even during a casual golf moment, he took aim at Clark's fans, calling them misguided. It's not about disagreeing, it's about dismissing. And when someone brings this much growth to the game, dismissing her impact says more about ego than insight.
They actually had odds that, she was like third or fourth in the betting odds to be MVP at the WNBA. That's such a slap in the face to every WNBA player. It's unbelievable, right? It comes from a place where people want it so bad, but it's misguided, and certainly she's not, I don't think, driving it. She's not out there campaigning for it.
Even on the golf course, Coach Auriemma couldn't let up. He downplayed Caitlin Clark's stellar rookie season, talking like she's just another name on the roster, not the record-breaking phenom changing the sport. Then he turned his frustration toward her team, criticizing them for standing up against the excessive physical play she's endured. His comments hinted at more than just analysis. They carried a tone of resentment, especially when he compared her treatment to his own past experiences with officiating. It starts to feel less like constructive criticism and more like a refusal to give credit where it's clearly due.
She has good days, she has bad days, she makes shots, she doesn't make shots. But it's funny to listen to the fever management moan about physical fouls anytime I moan about the game being too physical. There's always somebody on that staff saying that I'm so what goes around comes around, doesn't it?
Caitlin Clark's rookie season wasn't just impressive, it was historic. She nearly swept Rookie of the Year voting, landing 66 out of 67 votes, and led the entire WNBA in assists, setting a new rookie record. She didn't stop there. Clark earned all WNBA first-team honors, not just a spot on the all-rookie squad, and finished high in the MVP race. Fan support followed suit. She shattered the All-Star voting record with 7,735 votes, far surpassing the previous high set by A'ja Wilson with just under 10,000. Her rise wasn't hype. It was backed by stats, wins, and impact. Through it all, Caitlin stayed composed. She let her game speak, never responding directly to Coach Auriemma's ongoing digs. And that grace under pressure? It may be why even he has started offering praise, though often with a backhanded twist.
I think she's handling great. I think she talks a lot of and she gets a lot of back. So she deserves everything she gets because she gives it as good as she gets it. She's just not built for the physicality of this league.
Yeah.
And she's not quick enough to get away from the physicality. So there's a lot of learning curve, like Diana said. And when she gets it, she has elite skills that are going to really help her.
Yeah,
But she needs to be on a better team, and she needs to be more experienced, and that will come. But for these ridiculous fans who had her slotted as the next Diana now, they're out of their mind.
This part of the story reveals just how personal Geno Auriemma's criticisms of Caitlin Clark may really be. Sure, on the surface, he admits she has elite skills, but the praise is always followed by a but. She's not quick enough, not ready, needs to be better. It's almost laughable, especially considering how dominant Clark has been. She's led the league in assists, broken rookie records, and revitalized national interest in the WNBA. Yet somehow, that's still not enough? The contradictions are glaring. He claims the WNBA's physicality might overwhelm her, while also insisting she deserves the rough treatment. He even compares her rookie transition to Diana Taurasi's, but that comparison breaks down when you realize Clark has had a stronger, faster impact from day one. And when fans naturally make that comparison, he calls them ridiculous. Why? The defensiveness? Because Diana Taurasi is one of Auriemma's signature success stories, someone he helped mold into greatness. Clark, on the other hand, rose to stardom outside his program, outside his system, and beyond his influence. That's the root of it. Caitlin Clark represents a new era, one that's rapidly eclipsing the old guard. And for a coach who built his legacy on being the gatekeeper of greatness in women's basketball, that shift can feel threatening. Auriemma's comments increasingly sound like an effort to protect the past, his past, as Clark pushes the game into a future that no longer centers around his accomplishments. In trying to downplay her, he's only highlighting how much the game has changed and how Caitlin Clark is now the one driving it forward.
You've been in the game
is
for a
a
long time.
compliment.
Have you seen anything like Caitlin Clark?
She hasn't done what you did. So, yeah, I've seen it before. I saw you do it. I saw you take two freshmen and two other kids that had never started a game before in their lives and win a national championship. Not single-handedly, but do the kind of heroic things that Caitlin is doing. And her game is the evolving nature of the game where kids are like, they're fearless. They don't think about what's it going to look like if I miss this shot or if I take this chance.
Coach Auriemma insists that Caitlin Clark isn't doing anything new in women's basketball, but that take feels outdated. While he stays loyal to the era of Diana Taurasi and UConn's dominance, the rest of the world sees something different, a player redefining the sport's reach and impact. Rather than celebrating Clark's influence, he questions her style, suggesting today's game is more careless or flashy. But that criticism overlooks the clear shift happening right now. Caitlin isn't replacing the greats of the past, she's expanding what greatness looks like in this new era. Instead of comparing eras, maybe it's time to appreciate that Clark is bringing the spotlight back to women's basketball in ways we haven't seen before.
And this kid, she's fearless. She just plays. She just is like a little kid in a driveway playing with her friends. So, yeah, she's unique in that way. But in terms of what she's doing, people have short memories. Yeah, I've seen it before. I was there on the sideline. I saw you do it.
Coach Auriemma may call Caitlin Clark fearless, but the full context of his remarks paints a different picture. Comparing her game to a little kid in a driveway isn't just dismissive, it's a subtle jab at her professionalism and basketball IQ. That kind of comment ignores the precision and maturity behind Clark's game, which has been breaking down elite defenses since college. By downplaying her impact and claiming he's seen it before in players like Diana Taurasi, Auriemma reveals a reluctance to embrace the sport's evolution.